Good wishes. I'm fine now. Recovered now.
What happened, Sarah?
I was just a little sick last week and last weekend.
Oh dear, what happened to you?
Just cold and flu. Yes, but fine now. Coughing and sneezing and just the usual. No, just a cold.
Good.
Hello, Betty. Hello, Maeve. Hello, Tadao, Alan, everyone. So I think we can start now. Betty or Nina, would you like to start?
There were several weeks ago that two words were mentioned, and I wrote them down in the book, and I can't find the date on which they were written. So I guess during the course of the talk today, I'll see if I can find them, and then so I can ask about them later. They were two words that I don't know. I couldn't see the difference between the two words. Let me look.
Do you like to go ahead, Nina?
Yes, I wrote that the kusala can be an ingredient for right understanding. Otherwise, there would be akusala all day. The Pali term is sabha, sambhara, bhavana. I think there can be misunderstandings that people think that they have to have a lot of kusala in order to have more right understanding. So it's good if Acha could explain more about this.
Kusala is better than akusala for sure, but kusala with panya is the best of all. No one can force it to arise at all. It depends on conditions. As long as there are so many moments of akusala, how can there be a moment of kusala, especially a moment of kusala with right understanding? Right now, see, we have to understand conditions for whatever arises now. Whether it's panya or no understanding yet, but it's wholesome to have chanda, to understand the truth and carefully considering what is there, the word or the truth of it. For example, parami, see, without panya, it cannot lead to understanding the truth of this very moment, but there cannot be condition to understand directly of that which is now appearing. Yet, it needs moment of kusala with or panya, without or with panya, depending on conditions, not at will. That's why akusala cannot understand the truth of anything at all. But right understanding at that very moment, saddha is there, away from akusala, and it depends on conditions for whatever level of kusala is there. Without understanding of what is there now, little by little, gradually, how can there be a moment of even just thinking about it or being mindful, attention to that which is there? But whether there is a little understanding or not understanding enough yet to study the characteristic of it, but it's time to be reminded what can be known is only what is there now. But as it hasn't been known yet, without the words of the Buddha talking about what is there in life by conditions, there cannot be any progress of kusala to condition moment of understanding what is there little by little until it's there. More confidence of the truth that it's so true, but it does not appear as it is. That's why learn to understand the moment when it's there as it is, that it's there. Seeing, no hearing, no smelling, no tasting, and what appears is that which is seen at moment of seeing, and the reality which is there, always forgotten, is the reality which experiences it from now and on. It's the development of not forgetting about studying, understanding the characteristic of that, which has no shape, form, or anything at all, only experiencing what is there when it arises. It experiences a reality, aramana, or the object, which is experienced through different ways, little by little, not by intention or lopa or will to gain such and such understanding instantly, because it has been accumulated to attach to it and ignore the truth of it. That's why we learn to listen to the truth, never enough, on and on, just about what is there as it is, little by little, in different manners, to understand it, to have condition to think about it, to consider it at any time by conditions. So it's quite a long, long way to realize the truth. And that is khanti, barami, patience, with viriya, at moment of hearing, considering, learning the truth, in order not to forget about that which is now appearing, as we have heard, little by little. No other way. Only one way to realize the truth, which is so subtle. So it is the fourth noble truth. Is it all in life? To understand what is there, little by little, by conditions, stage by stage. So life goes on naturally by conditions, and that is firm confidence of the truth. It has to be only that way by conditions. Even it's there from day to day, it cannot be the object of understanding clearly yet, but it begins to understand that at that very moment, nothing else is there appearing, only one of the six ways from moment to moment. So very rapidly, that's why it depends on condition to just begin to attend to what characteristic, to what way, without naming it, whether it's this way or that way. Just what has been heard is very firm foundation to condition any degree of understanding the truth of that. It takes quite a long time compared to the accumulation of ignorance and attachment years and years and years ago. No understanding of the truth. So attachment is there, taking it for what is there as usual in a day right now, but begin to understand the truth gradually, little by little. That is the Satyayana of the path leading to realize the truth, the Ariya Satya, even the first Ariya Satya. Different levels of understanding pariyatti now. And when direct awareness of our reality right now is there, it's the second level of understanding the truth, begin to be directly on our reality, which is there. Can there be other way? Patience is right now. Kriya is right now. Satya is right now. And this is Nekama too right now. let go attachment or the desire, wishing to experience without any understanding, gradually developed from moment to moment. When there is the understanding of that which is now appearing, that can be the understanding of what Buddha taught word by word, like Dhamma or Dhammas, Anicca, Dukkha, Anatta, now. And now one always lives in the world of nimitta, of realities, unknown as it is, as it's not there at all, just only when it appears. Even that it arises and falls away, appear as nimitta of one characteristic of our reality. Now there is the nimitta of seeing, and the other moment, nimitta of hearing, unknown. The difference between these two moments, one only appear at a time. And we can talk about what is there in life appearing to understand it little by little as it is, no matter what in a day appearing.
Nina, a few people came in a bit later. Would you repeat your question for the sake of those who missed it?
Yes, and the question was that I read that the kusala as an ingredient for a right understanding. Otherwise, there is akusala all day. In Pali, it said sabba sambara bhavana. So I was thinking that people may believe that kusala, a lot of kusala is really important and necessary to develop understanding. But this is not so, because also akusala should be known. And the most important thing is any reality that appears, no matter kusala or akusala, should be understood as conditioned reality.
Yes, I think it's a trap when we read about the great value of all kinds of kusala, when there is the idea that all kinds of kusala must be developed first before understanding can develop, or all kinds of kusala leads to more understanding. As we know, even before the Buddha's time, many people had developed great kusala, but no eradication of even the tiniest bit of wrong view, because it's all taken for one's own kusala. So it is a trap to think that there must be kusala before there can be understanding other kinds of kusala first. There must be a lot of metta, a lot of dana before understanding can develop. So there's a difference between talking about the support of all kinds of kusala for the development of understanding and the idea that there should be the development of kusala in order for understanding to develop. So it's a fine point, because as you say, whatever appears now has to be understood as it is, no matter whether it's lobha or dosa or kindness. It's just a conditioned reality not belonging to self. So as soon as there's the wishing or selection or the idea that it should be kusala now, then it's the wrong path again.
Yes, and there is an example of Angulimala, who killed so many people, but he could develop right understanding and attain enlightenment.
Yes, I think there are many, many examples. So who knows the accumulations and when it's possible for understanding to arise unexpectedly. So no matter what the tendencies for akusala, understanding can arise. And this is why it's joyful, as we discussed last time, because understanding can arise anytime at all, in the middle of the akusala or in the middle of lots of bad behavior, but there can be understanding that it's just different realities, one at a time, appearing unexpectedly.
Thanks, Sarah, for I came in just a few minutes late, for asking Nina to go over that question again. I think that just to perhaps add a little bit there to what you were saying with regards people often feeling that that akusala is so unhelpful and we need to have more and more kusala. Of course, we know that can only happen by the right conditions. And it's somewhat counterintuitive. That's what I was thinking. It's somewhat counterintuitive that akusala can be understood, and so in that respect, we can say it's a kind of it can be stood, and in that way, panya can develop even when there's akusala, which, as I said, somewhat counterintuitive, because there's such a strong stress on kusala, and I think it's not so much the strong stress. I think it's the misunderstanding that's easy to develop. Because there's so much in the suttas about the dangers of akusala and the benefits of kusala, and people, of course, remember that very famous Pali phrase, which is the teaching of all the Buddhas, Sabbapaka Passa Karanam, and so on. I won't go through it all. To avoid akusala and to develop kusala, purify the mind. That's the teaching of all the Buddhas. And so people, it's so easy to misunderstand that when it's said Sabbapaka Passa Karanam, not to do all akusala. It's so easy to misunderstand. Another point that I think Nina was making there too was Balangulimala, and we've talked about this a little before, but you're right, he did have a lot of akusala, but prior to earlier on in his life, he was a very highly learned person who had a lot of kusala. Well, he was well known for his good-heartedness, and but his teacher put him astray. And so we can just see also how we have sometimes there are all sorts of conditions which can be a condition for all sorts of akusala and all sorts of akusala. And when the right conditions are there, we can behave really poorly. When the right conditions are there, we know that the right conditions, as Tanajan was beautifully alluding to earlier on, I heard a couple of things. I thought, oh my God, that's so good, the way Tanajan expresses things, I'm just trying to capture some of the things that I first heard, and I thought, oh, it's such a treat to listen to Dhamma of this caliber, and to consider it carefully, and having that opportunity to do so. It's really wonderful. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Sarah and Nina. I appreciate the questions you asked, because you often do this at the beginning, and it's conditioned for Tanajan to share Dhamma with us, and that's got to be a blessing. Thank you.
Sarah, perhaps I can ask the question I thought I was going to ask. This is another question that I found in my notes that came a while ago, and I think motivated, conditioned by my husband's passing away. At what point does the Juti Jitta actually arise to indicate death? Because when watching my husband die, I sat with him the whole time. I felt that the mentality, his Jetasikas had already left the body. But according to what the doctors would say, the body was still alive until the afternoon, middle afternoon. And, you know, their indicators are brain and heart function, blood pressure, and stuff like that, which of course is all Panyati. But in actual death, in terms of reality, at what point in the process of dying does the Juti Jitta arise?
So the Juti Jitta is the last moment of consciousness.
Yes.
After the Juti Jitta has fallen away, instantly there is the first Jitta of the new life. No more your husband or that one at all, already gone. But still there are some rupas still conditioned by nutriments still arising for a short while, for a while. Like we can see, there's still the relics of the Buddha, still rupas that are conditioned by nutriment arising and falling away. But after the Juti Jitta has fallen away, no more Jittas in that life. And just before the Juti Jitta arises, there are just 5 Javana Jittas. And the object experienced by those Javana Jittas is the object that will be experienced by the Patisandhi Jitta, which immediately follows the Juti Jitta. But just like now, the Jittas arise and fall away in such rapid succession. No one can measure them. No doctor can tell. We cannot tell for the others. There's no understanding now of seeing or hearing because they arise and fall away so very rapidly. The characteristic doesn't appear. And at the end of life, one cannot know when it's the Juti Jitta, and one can have no idea what the object of the Javana Jittas are because it's just one moment. So one moment now cannot be known. So who can tell when it is the exact Juti Jitta that arises and falls away? Sorry, I think you're talking, Betty, but we can't hear you.
I know. Thank you.
Yes.
That was a very good explanation.
So, of course, the doctors cannot, no one can know the exact moment, but they can tell from their equipment approximately when it's the end of the consciousness. Like if someone is in a coma and then the life finishes, they can know approximately, but no one can tell the exact moment. No one can understand the Juti Jitta exactly. Just like now, no one can tell which is the moment of seeing or hearing exactly, but the characteristic can be known. So the Jittas always now or at the end of life or the beginning of new life, they just arise and fall away in rapid succession. And conventionally we think of it, we call it death, the end of this being. But in the deepest sense, it's just like now, one Jitta after another arising and falling away. It's just another moment, just like now. The hearing is another moment, the thinking is another moment. So there's birth and death at each moment, but no scientist can measure that, can know it.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking too, Betty, that,
Yes.
you know, there could be, because you mentioned you're with them there, it could be just a really long stream of Bhavanga Jittas. So Yeah, sorry, it's a little, I've just been slightly interrupted there. So there's no sense or even mind or experience. Well, there is mind or by way of Bhavanga, but so there's nothing, it's like being unconscious in a way. And Sarah alluded to this, I noticed in a post earlier on this week with, I think it was, somebody's father. So yeah, it can mean that there's just no sense or even thinking about anything. So one is just, there's just the experience of Bhavanga chittas, long streams of them, like happens like in sleep time. There's no sense or mind or object. So that's another option for when a person may be very sort of quiescent or quiet or not seeming to, be very aware of anything or exhibiting any form of, physical behavior. I think you know what I mean anyway.
Just coming back to the term Nina was using in her question, which was also a reason I asked her to repeat it to make sure I'd heard correctly. I think she's not here now, but anyway, I'll carry on. She was talking about one of the kinds of bhavana we can read about, and the first one is Sabha Sambhara Bhavana, which she was referring to, which refers to the development of all kinds of kusala, and there are three others. But when we read about the detail in the commentary about Sabha Sambhara Bhavana, it refers to how it is the development of all the paramis. So people think of it as just developing kusala and think that there has to be development of more and more kusala. Well, this is true, but when we appreciate that it's referring to the paramis, the perfections, then we appreciate that it has to be with understanding, because the development of kusala without understanding can never be the right path. So that's why every word, every term has to be considered carefully.
Yeah, when you said that, when Nina said that, I didn't quite catch the Pali, but now when you said it, Sarah, I was able to catch it. Sambhara means to take hold of or to take up. So yeah, as you know, Sabbha and Bhavana, that's pretty straightforward. So development of all kinds of holding on to or bearing. It doesn't really matter how you translate it, but yeah, it's holding on to all sorts of kusala.
And the second one is Nirantara Bhavana, which refers to the continuous development of kusala, which again is the continuous development of the parami, the perfections, through hundreds and thousands of aeons, on and on. So it shows how long the path has to be developed for, not just this lifetime or this year, but continuously over many, many lifetimes. And the third one is Jira Gala Bhavana, which Ajahn sometimes refers to. And again, it's the development of the perfections over a very long time, 100,000 aeons, a very, very long time for the development. So this is why it needs so much patience. And the last one is Sakaccha Bhavana, which is the development of the paramis with respect, with careful consideration and respect for the teachings. So in brief, the kusala has to be developed with understanding continuously and for such a long time without expectation and very respectfully. So I think this is what Nina was referring to. But people just take the word about developing kusala and wish to have a change of personality and have goodness arising now quickly without appreciating how no one can do anything. It all comes down to conditions and the development of understanding without any expectation and with confidence and patience on and on and on, lifetime after lifetime. Some people think this sounds depressing, but I think it's joyful, joyful that no one can do anything, that it's just down to conditions, no expectations. Jyotika, do you have anything you would like to bring up today? Or Alberto, I can see you're both present.
I'm thinking about what is the question from Nina, following up. I think of all the holy people in the Catholic Church doing so many good things. And at the same time, I understand that there is this wrong view about personality and doing it as a person, as an I. So it would be maybe that is not at all a kusala done. It's not a kusala, because there is still this wrong view. Can we think about it, or?
I think we make a lot of assumptions about what is good, like we think when we help the beggar in the street that it's good, because we know there are moments of generosity and goodness, but we cannot say about a situation, because as Betty and I were discussing, so many cheetahs are rising and falling away in rapid succession. A moment of seeing, no goodness. A moment of hearing, no goodness. A moment of aversion when one feels sad about the situation, no goodness. Moments of being glad about one's goodness, no goodness. So only Panya can know when there is goodness. We cannot just tell from an outward appearance or a situation, even though we can say, oh, that was so kind to help that person and so on. Okay, we can have a general idea, but the reason we study Dhamma is because there has to be more and more precise understanding of what is goodness and how it is anatta. It doesn't belong to the Catholic or the Protestant or the Buddhist or you or me. It's just a moment of kusala arising and falling away.
And in more precise terms, and when we talk about the absolute realities, we're actually just talking about being more precise than conventional language. So in the most precise sense, goodness is just the wholesome moment of consciousness. And if the consciousness is unwholesome, then it can't be doing good at that particular moment. This is not to say that we have to be obsessive about having a kusala all the time, but it's helpful to know what goodness really is. And when we understand goodness in the sense of wholesome consciousness, then we also understand that there are different kinds of goodness and different levels of goodness. For example, there's the goodness of giving, there's the goodness of helping, there's the goodness of sharing, there's the goodness of the wholesome, the calmness that accompanies wholesome mental state, and there's the goodness of seeing the true nature of consciousness and any other reality that may be appearing. And these are different levels of goodness. And some of these levels are known to other teachings, and some are not. And specifically, the level of understanding the nature of consciousness and other realities appearing. And that particular kind of goodness is not found in any other teaching. So we can consider these different aspects of goodness when we think about what we previously understood before hearing the Dhamma. And others who have not had an opportunity to hear about this very precise understanding of the way things are, of course, are not able to benefit from every aspect of it.
Yeah, Jyotika, I'm appreciating what Sarah said, and Jonathan too. Kusala doesn't belong to anybody. Kusala, as John's alluded to, is skillful consciousness. So it doesn't have to be, Christian or whatever. And skillful deeds, kusala, can be performed by anybody from any philosophical belief. But I think, and Jonathan has just alluded to this too, is just that, as I read it, the great advantage of the Intl.Dhamma is that it's so precise, very, very precise. And that, as far as I understand, is nowhere else except in the Intl.Dhamma. The levels of kusala and the understanding that can develop along with the appreciation of the Intl.Dhamma can be so very helpful in identifying what is kusala and what is not. And that's no easy task, even when we have understanding. So, Thanajan is always reminding us, and the others also, about the present moment, because the present moment, as Thanajan, I often like the question she asks when she often says, "Is that true? Does that seem true to you?" Because she's always pointing to the truth of the present moment. This helps to develop a more sophisticated understanding of what is good as opposed to what is not good. So I think it's a really good question. And it's one that it's important, I think, as I said, that kusala doesn't belong to any religion or any philosophy. It is what it is, and it cannot be changed, but it can be understood. And as I sort of alluded to just a moment ago, it's the Intl.Dhamma that enables us to see this little by little. But as you know, it's a very, very gradual process.
Um,
So,
Yes.
Jyotika, as just now Sundara was saying, that the Buddha's teachings helps us to identify precisely what is kusala and what is akusala. So, if one hasn't heard the Buddha's teachings, then we may infer that it's bound to be mistaken. What is kusala is bound to be mistaken for akusala, and what is akusala is bound to be mistaken for kusala. So when someone who is not has not heard the Dhamma and not developed understanding to know precisely what is kusala and akusala, then all what we take for kusala is, as you suspected, at where you were coming from with the question, it's bound to be more akusala. So the deeds done, as in by other religions, it's bound to be more akusala than kusala.
can I add?
Is it possible to?
Jyotika, excuse me, I have my hand up. Can I add to that, Sundara and Sukin, that if you'll notice, when kusala is performed or done, when it happens, when it arises, there's also a lessening of the sense of a slight lessening of the sense of self, because because the kusala that is arising is dealing with other people. For instance, dana is giving to other people. Bhavana also, although that may be considered personal development, and sila is in a sense protecting other people. So that kusala more involves actions that are, I guess, good for, helpful, whatever, to other people. So it's a
Yes.
lessening of me, as opposed to doing something for somebody else.
And yeah, I think what you're pointing at is that the fact of kusala, all kinds of kusala, sila and metta and all that, the object is other beings, so the benefit of other beings.
Yes.
And that, as John and Sarah and Sundar was saying, is something that can arise in people of any religion, any beliefs. But the thing is that when that happens, it's not understood as just a Dhamma, and it's bound to become, my kusala, one, two, or people start doing in the name of their religion, in the name of their people, or giving to people who they identify as their own, and stuff like that. So at that moment, it's not kusala, it's just more kusala, it's done with attachment.
Yeah, that's right. And no other religion has this understanding of the attachment or of these processes, whatever, that of kusala and actually what it is. That's true. Yes.
But say they can usually, when we do thinking about for self doing good so that I'm being better person, that is attachment. That is absolutely right. But sometimes we see thinking for ourselves in the term of kusala way, in sense that when we see other doing good, right, and then we have a appreciation and seeing that even we also should do the good. I mean, with the kusala, by kusala chitta, seeing the benefit of good, that even we also should develop those good, and that also actually is thinking about self in a good way. It's not an attachment to a self, but it's seeing the value of the kusala and seeing the value of it and develop those value as well.
Is it possible to be wholesome if you have still wrong view
It's
Well, of
different
course.
moments.
Well, of course, Betty, because people who have not heard the Dhamma can have kusala citta of some of those levels, in fact, of all levels other than the level of insight or understanding of the true nature of reality.
So, for example, Mother Teresa, well known all over the world. So she was really, I think she was keeping all the time very much close to God.
One cannot know the citta of another person, so we don't need to speculate about the level or how much kusala Mother Teresa had. It's not possible to know. It's difficult enough to know kusala citta one's own, as you know. So we don't have to, no one is wanting to compare, we'll say,
No, but I use
our
it as
kusala with other person's kusala. But one can appreciate the kusala that someone has done, because one can see, one can assume a certain level of kusala, but we don't assume pure kusala at all in another being or ourselves.
But for me, it's an example of the same question as if it is possible to do have kusala when you still have at the same time this wrong view.
But
You mean like
we are,
us? We still have a lot of wrong view, but they can be kusala also, right?
Because that is very much in other religions.
And
I
we
don't
can know
compare, but I don't want to compare, but I want to make it concrete.
there can be the development of kusala and also the development of wrong view at the same time.
That can be at the same time.
Why not?
Development.
Because
Not
there
at the
are
same
accumulated tendencies for wholesome consciousness, and there are accumulated tendencies for wrong view. And these can arise at different moments.
And we can know from looking around that some people have accumulations for a lot of kindness, a lot of generosity, a lot of metta, even though there's no interest or understanding of realities. Whereas some people very stingy by nature, don't like to share or give at all. So different accumulations. But as Sukin said, it's like now, what about now? Moments of kindness, moments of goodness, moments of wrong view, moments of taking it instantly for being my kindness or my interest or my clinging. So different moments. It's just like now, understanding more about realities now is the way to understand that it's like that for anyone, any streams of consciousness. And when we appreciate how there's so much ignorance and so much wrong understanding, then there's more sympathy and understanding that it has to be like that for others too. And a lot of what is taken for goodness is attachment, because they both arise with pleasant feeling. So without understanding, even now, who can tell whether it's a moment of goodness or a moment of clinging? So it all comes down to the understanding now of the citta now. And when one thinks about the others and tries to evaluate how much goodness there is, what is the reality? What kind of thinking is it at that moment?
Thank you.
Always back to now and the understanding now of the citta now, what appears now. It's the only way to know, to actually answer the question.
Yeah.
Perhaps Sujan would like to add more to your question too.
I think that we talk a lot, learn a lot about what is there. But what about the truth, the absolute truth of each one? It's forgotten that it's just a conditioned reality, different by different conditions, just arise and falls away instantly. This is the point that shouldn't be forgotten, because we just think about this and that all the time. But what about the reality, which is not permanent at all? It cannot be taken for anything or anyone. Just learn to understand that it is just what appears now. So very short, but no understanding of it. That's why we talk about it, about seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. What is there in life can be known only through one of six doorways, different doorway at a time. That's all in life. But they are not known as not me or anything at all. That's why we learn to understand each reality as it is, to have more confidence of the truth of it, that no one can make it arise, no one can control, no one cannot make it last. It's all gone. But the idea of it's there all the time as some people or something in life, but in truth, what is there in life? Very short, different chitta, the reality, which is the chief of experiencing, moment of seeing, no thought about what is seen, no like or dislike at moment of seeing an object. That's why life is just different condition, realities arising and falling away and never return at all. Learn to understand the truth, to let go the idea of someone or something, or just keep on whatever is experienced is there as very important. But in truth, no more. It's not there anymore. It's only in mind. Keep on thinking about it from life to life, clinging to it. But there can be moment of understanding the truth, because once it's there, how come? And who can stop it arising? Impossible. That's why learning to understand that it is not just this moment which is conditioned, still conditioned moment, on and on and on and on, non-stop of no one, but only non-stop reality, which is conditioned to just arise instantly and fall away instantly, never to arise again. Is this true? Begin to see that life is so short, and what has been experienced from moment of birth to death completely gone, never be the object of thinking or memory at all when it's the end of life. And one can be this person just only as short as life is by conditions. That's all. No more this person. But what is their experience are accumulated to condition the new life, new being, not just like this one at all. Never be the same. That's why life is just the conditioned arising and falling away of a reality, different ones. For example, seeing now, what is it in truth? Not me or anyone at all. And no one can stop its arising because it's conditioned. As long as there is birth, there has to be seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, on, and ends up. No more, finished. No thought about this life when death is there, and then new life begins again and again and again, non-stop. Learn to let go, the clinging to what is there now as me or I or mine, because it's just there. That's why we talk a little more of one reality at a time to understand that it's there now, but it's so short, and then it's gone. So we can understand what is there in life from moment to moment when there are conditions. From morning up to now, how many moments of seeing and thinking and liking and so on, where were they now? All gone. Completely, absolutely. That's why learn to understand the truth of life, the truth of what is there, as it's not me or mine or anyone. It's only the moment of conditioned realities. Learn to understand the difference between that which is conditioned to experience the object, to see then gone, to hear then gone, and then thinking everything. And that which is conditioned to be sweet or sound or taste or smell, only that and then gone. See, is this life just very temporarily? Who knows when will death come or arise? In split second, unknown. Like now, who knows what would be the next moment? That's all. Just very short condition to just arise and fall away, one moment at a time, different ones, and no more in this life, and then begin to have new life, next life, different life from now. That's all. Are everyone ready to be new life, to be new person, new personality? Not the same as this personality. Just live and understand. So very temporary, that's all, whatever comes and gone. And understand the truth that actually what is there in life is so different. Some are wholesome and some are wholesome. And how can understand whether it's wholesome or not? It's gone instantly. But there can be the moment of understanding the differences between the two different characteristics that which experience the object. If there's not such reality, there cannot be anything at all in life or in the whole world or no matter where. But since there is the reality right now, experiencing an object, how come the hardness or the color, the moon and the sun and the tree? By conditions. So condition can condition the reality which cannot experience anything, and condition another reality which arises to experience the object. That's all. All depends on conditions. So no matter it is wholesome or unwholesome, who knows? Because it is moment of the conditioned reality to be seeing or liking or be friendly or ego and so on. Each different one is unexpectedly conditioned, arising and falling away all the time. This is the way to let go. The moment of taking what is there as something in life, little by little. That's why there can be the understanding of how much it developed. Because now, is there any understanding of seeing by conditions as it is, little by little, and how much of letting go, taking it for I see? This is what we say, the reality which understands what is there as it is, different from the moment when it's there, but no thought about the characteristic of it as just a moment of seeing by conditions, what is seen, and so on. That's why we can talk about anything. And when there is the understanding of this moment as it is, the reality which experiences the object, there can be the understanding of any other reality which experience the object by different manners, different characteristics, different function, or by conditions, just arise and fall away instantly, no one there at all. Just begin to understand the truth, because this is the absolute truth of what we take as I or someone, like, dislike, seeing or hearing. No one there at all. Is the truth. Just have confidence of the truth, that actually even now talking about the truth, no one there at all. Each moment of the conditioned thought by conditions. What it's talking now is not known before, but there are conditions for each word, each thought about what it said. See, each moment is conditioned. So we learn to understand the truth of there is no one by understanding one characteristic at a time as different one, never be the same in samsara at all. And what has been known gradually accumulated, developed. No need to say that, oh, this is Dhamma, is true, because of understanding that what is there is so true because it's there. And the understanding or awareness is there, or no understanding and no awareness of the characteristic as just a reality at all, or are known by the reality, which is what we say, right understanding of the truth of what is there as it is, little by little. So now, is there enough understanding of the characteristic of the reality which arises to experience anything now? Or not yet, but it's there to be known. When we talk about it a little more, the understanding develops by its own way, and no need to just think or repeat it, but the understanding begin to attend to the characteristic which is there, experience the object which is seen right now, or it's there, experience the sound which is heard right now, from moment to moment, until the understanding of the truth becomes just a little clearer and clearer and clearer, just as we have talked about, just as we heard about the truth, just as the one who had enlightened the truth thought about it, to be known by oneself at that very moment, right understanding or no understanding of it, little by little developed. Not by anyone, but by conditions, hearing, considering carefully, be truthful to the truth, true to what is there as is now seeing. Our reality arises to see, that's all. Gone, no one. The next moment is different ones again, experiencing different objects.
Reality rises to be seen.
So now, what sees our reality?
Yeah, I see color and
Even
form.
we don't call it, it sees. Even we don't call it, it hears different moments. That's all in life. Different moment, that is all in life.
Yes.
No one. Understanding is different from ignorance.
Yeah.
So now, when someone asks whether is this a reality, the one who understands it, what is meant by reality knows that it's a reality. And what reality is there? That which cannot experience the object. It's sweet, or it's hard, or it's sound, or it's smell. It's there, experienced. So it appears by a reality which just arises to experience that object, particular object, and then gone. It does not remember. It does not like. It just arises to experience and then gone. But what about memory? It's a reality. It's different from attachment, aversion, or that which is the chief of experiencing. Because the chief of experiencing an object cannot like anything, cannot dislike anything. It just arises to see, to experience that particular object and then gone. And memory arising with that moment, it cannot directly experience the object clearly as the reality, which is the chief citta, but it marks and remembers that which is seen and then gone with each moment of experiencing an object. That's why we learn to understand the truth of one moment of experiencing an object. What are they? Many, many different realities can be known, can be heard, can be studied, just one by one at a time, whether it's there or not. We are talking about hearing, or we are talking about seeing, but there are other realities like thinking, memory, and so on. But we learn to understand just one by one characteristic of a reality until it's there is known as what we have learned and understand what is there as it is. Little by little, that we learn just about any moment. We learn about memory. It's there now. And when it's there, take what is there as something. It's the memory of that which is experienced, such with such and such marks as something like that, and so on. There are all kinds of different realities from moment to moment. An attachment is there after seeing instantly by accumulation. It's time to just have moment of oozing, wanting instantly, even if so very little at a time. And sometimes so strong, depending on conditions too. But its characteristic is just being attached with that object at different moments. As just moment of seeing, or moment of thinking about shape and form and someone and some events. They are new. So each moment can be understood when we learn about one characteristic of a reality at a time. Now, memory remembers that which is seen. So other memory, there must be memory with each citta. Remember what is there, which is experienced by citta. So can it be I or me or anyone just at that very moment and then gone? Learn to understand the truth of each reality, to let go the idea of I can do, or it's me, or change it, impossible. Learn to let go the idea of self, or the wish to change, or the wish to do, because that is only thinking about to do. But when it's there, it's not as we thought, or by conditions.
Very much, thank you, Ajahn. But it seems so far from the question we started with from Nina.
The truth cannot be changed, but right understanding can develop to understand the truth. And understanding is no one, as seeing is no one, Ignorance is no one. Different realities arises to be different, never changed. One seeing arises, it cannot hear at any other moment. It has to see, just arise to see. And hearing just arise to hear. And thinking just arise to think. All by conditions. And right understanding begin to see different characteristics of different realities. It understands moment of attachment. It's not that which is aversion at all. Different realities, no one. We can see the danger of aversion. But what about the danger of attachment? When it's so pleasant, that one is so attached to it, but it's gone. And when it's gone, what about thought about it? Clinging, wishing, hoping, wanting to experience that object again. But in truth, no matter what is experienced now, it's not the same one which has gone. Never be the same. That's why some moment in life is wholesome and some moment in life is unwholesome. Some moment there is understanding and some moment there is no understanding. All depends on different moments by different conditions. That's all. This is the way to let go, the clinging to no matter what, as someone or something or I. And this is subtle. So all Ariya Satya, the Four Noble Truths, are so subtle, including the path leading to experience the first Ariya Satya, which is now. Even it's so true, it's not known yet. Because understanding of the characteristic which now appears is not clear enough. We just think, see, but the characteristic of the see itself does not show up because it's not that which is seen. So in life, the citta, the experiencing of what appears in life is always unknown. If there's no thought about it, there can be only the idea. It experiences the object because the object is there. But when the reality which experiences the object does not appear, how can it be known that it's not that which is seen or that which is experienced? And imagine the reality without shape, form, sound, smell, or anything at all. When it appears, nothing can appear together. And since it doesn't have any shape or form, what is that? Nothing except the reality which experiences the object. Even if then it does not appear clear as it is, it needs more understanding stage by stage to directly experience the characteristic which experience no matter what. No thought about the object. And when it's clear, it's not anyone's wish to experience it, but it's there. No rupa, no world as things and people, because it's their experiencing the characteristic which the object of that moment does not appear. Otherwise, the reality which experiences the object cannot appear at all. Is it there now? We don't talk about that which is not there, but we are talking about what is there now as it is, to be known, to be remembered, to be thought about, to attend to it little by little. Even if it's not now, it can be some moments when there are conditions for it to arise. All depends on conditions. And we learn about what are conditions for what characteristic of reality arising.
It's just happening, just happening.
And we learn to understand the pajya, the conditions, little by little. Each reality which arises to experience an object is anantara pajya. After it's gone, it conditions the next moment instantly. No one can stop the pajya of each citta. And we learn what citta does not have the anantara pajya, the moment of death of arahata only. So learn to understand a little more about no one and no thing, to have confidence of the truth. This is the first stage of understanding the truth, the teachings of the Buddha. And this understanding can condition moment of directly understand what is there, which has been learned enough to understand it by conditions. No expectation, when and where and what. And this is anatta. So the understanding of the anatta-ness becomes a little clearer. So very, very gradually.
Sadhu, sadhu.
I think, Jyotika, you mentioned, for example, when we hear about seeing now, you mentioned it doesn't seem related to Nina's question and comments about the development of all kinds of kusala and the importance of understanding whatever appears. But I think the point that people miss is that the highest kusala of all is right understanding. And without right understanding of what appears now, there can never be the eradication of defilements. So what is to be understood is what is there now, what appears now. There is seeing now, there is hearing now. So it's only by understanding the reality now that there can be the understanding of dhammas as anatta and the development of all kinds of kusala with understanding. Otherwise, we just speculate about this person's goodness and that person's goodness. But it's just a story, a fantasy, because there's no understanding at all at this moment of the reality now. So it may seem, when we're talking about seeing, it has nothing to do with the development of all kinds of kusala, but actually it has to begin with the understanding of what is now as anatta, in order for there to be the development of kusala with understanding, not someone's kusala that is developed.
Thank you,
And
Sadhu.
that's why whatever the topic that comes up, it always comes back to now, like thinking about the story of Mother Teresa. What about now? What kind of thinking is it now? Kusala or akusala? Doubt, clinging, ignorance, or understanding of what appears now. So whatever we study, whatever the Buddha taught, It's always about the understanding now. Even death, it's now in the deepest sense. The seeing is gone at each instant. The goodness is gone, not worth clinging to at all. The pleasant feeling gone instantly. Whatever appears is gone. So there's death at each moment. And this is the Anantarapakya Ajahn was referring to, each chitta conditioning the next one endlessly until there's no more life. So all the things we find so important and so disturbing and so precious, actually it's just thinking which is gone at each moment. So it is joyful. It's like a lightness, nothing to be so obsessed and concerned about, because it's all gone. Just lots of different stories about the seeing, the hearing, what is experienced now.
It's liberating.
I think so, very liberating. It's a big burden, all the stories we have about my problems and these issues and the other person and this situation and that situation, forgetting about just this moment of seeing now, thinking now, each one gone, no matter where we are or how life goes. As Ajahn said, death can come any moment now.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks, Jyotika. I appreciate your points and also the way that you say, yes, this isn't clear, or it doesn't make sense, or it doesn't link up. It's helpful for everyone. So thank you too.
Yeah, I'd just like to add to that too. I'm conscious of time, Jyotika. Yeah, all questions are always really helpful, because it's good to try and see it from another person's point of view. That can be an advantage in some respects, where, you know, it's an opportunity for helping, it's an opportunity for metta, and the most precious thing is the Dhamma. There's no question about that. And any question, I believe, enables us to consider the Dhamma more carefully, because it is difficult. You know, I would never say to anybody, look, you know, you should have understood, or because it's difficult. You know, it takes a lot. And Ajahn is always reminding us and the others to keep on considering, to keep on, primarily to keep on considering the Dhamma, bearing it in mind, ideally. And there will be questions that come up, or things that don't seem to add up, or don't seem to make sense. You know, that is normal. That is very understandable. And I think this aspect of akusala that people were talking about today, because the Dhamma is I believe quite counterintuitive at times. What needs to be done is the development of understanding, and that includes all Dhammas, whether that's kusala or akusala. So it takes that careful listening and careful consideration. There's no encouragement to perform akusala. No, certainly not. There's an encouragement to understand it as it appears as a conditioned Dhamma which arises and falls away. And the more understanding there can be of Dhammas as they are, not as how we want them, because we can't change them once they've arisen. They've arisen. And that's just the way it is. And Nina was talking about Angulimala, and you know, we can see that we all have some dark accumulations and also some bright ones that enable understanding to grow, and see the Dhamma in its totality, not just a certain section of it that we want and others that we don't want. That's not in accordance with Dhamma. So it's a gradual process. So, you know, please keep on asking your questions, and as Sarah said, we appreciate them.
Thank you, Sundara. I'm very grateful for everything what I can learn here, or what we are learning.
Jyotika, can you hear me?
Jyotika, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Can you hear me, Jyotika?
You can hear me? You can hear
Jonathan
me?
had a computer problem. He's trying to use his phone. Can you hear Jonathan or not at all? Speak louder,
Can
John.
anyone hear me?
I didn't know it was Jonathan, but
Yeah, I can hear you, John. I can hear you.
Right,
yeah,
thanks.
I hear something.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay. Just a quick question for you, Jyotika. What kind of kusala do you admire most?
What kind of kusala do I admire?
What kind of doing good? What kind of doing good do you most admire of all the different kinds of doing good?
Now, when you ask it, first thing is that I think not to give up, but not to give up, but
Not giving up.
it's patience, I think, or what is it in official thing?
Well, it could be not giving up, could be determination, or it could be
Determination.
resolution, or it could be patience, depending on how you conceive the idea of not giving
I
up.
think determination, I think. Yeah.
What is it that conditions the not giving up and the
I don't know.
patience and the
I think there is a longing for clarity.
I think, and without any understanding, could there be any appreciation of the value of clarity and the value of persisting and not giving up?
No.
So this is an example of how there has to be understanding in order for there to be that development of patience, not giving up, and
The underlying
increasing clarity.
I really appreciated that point you made, Jyotika. You know, the persistence that's needed to appreciate Dhamma and the determination to go all the way to understand it. You know, that's such a wonderful answer to Jonathan's question about the kind of kusala you appreciate most. I think that's a real inspiration to certainly to me, and I'm sure others also.
Perhaps we can continue with this topic next week.
Fine. Thank you.